The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now your host, Nicole Hutchison.
Nation, welcome into Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. In the SWBC studio, I'm Nicole Hutchison alongside Christy Scales, Justin Vars, and Aisha Morrison. I wish that it was a victory Monday, but it's not. The Cowboys absolutely getting dominated on Sunday in Week 2, now 1-1 in the season. 44-19 the final in AT&T Stadium. Ladies, I've just got to get y'all's first thoughts. I know that we were kind of talking about it off camera.
I couldn't hold it in.
I know you couldn't. Aisha, I'll start with you. Biggest takeaway.
What can you fix and what can't you fix? That's where I'm at. It's week 2. It's so much football left to be played. So I think this team has to, I know Mike McCarthy's talked about doing in-season evaluations. Baby, you got to push it up. Hey.
Don't wait till the bye.
Don't wait till the bye. And then he does it like, is it trimesters?
Yeah.
Is that how he does it, if I'm not mistaken?
Think it was.
You need to push that thing up.
Weekly.
You need to reevaluate what's happening right now, because the way in which it happened is what gives you pause and what makes you ask like yourself, like, it's new scheme, it's new coaches, it's all this new stuff. It's like, yeah, but the trends are still evident there as far as stopping the run, and not even just stopping the run. It's the lack of discipline amongst everyone with stopping the run, the assignments and things like that. And then also on the other side of the ball, with running the ball, your inability to run the ball is really, it's gonna be a problem. It's been a problem for the last 2-3 years. Every time you get to the playoffs, people dare you to. You can't run against light boxes. They drop 1 million people in coverage. It's just, it's the same issues. So to me, it's like they need to figure out if they can fix these things, and if they can't, what they can do to fix it, because it's going to come up. They put it on tape again. It's going to come up again. You think the Ravens ain't over here like
Bet.
Salivating.
So did.
so
Yeah.
So you guys can't stop the run, you say? We got something for that. Like, so that's my takeaway is pushing up the in-season evaluations right now. You need to do it right now, and you need to be swift about it. You don't want to lose your locker room like this early in the season, or the belief this early in the season. So that's what my takeaway is. What you got?
First of all, missed you so freaking much. So glad you're back.
But I will say, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this.
Yes.
But I enjoyed hearing y'all, like watching y'all during the week and hearing y'all like, I mean, obviously we all talk ball on this podcast. Like, we talk football on a level that I think people should acknowledge, but to hear everyone's growth, like we're growing together. Like, I feel like we're all growing together and learning this game because it's ever changing. And to hear y'all talk ball last week, I was sitting there in my little hospital bed, like, look at
hospital bed.
Look at my girls over here studying. It's just, it's fun to me, because this, obviously in this business, we're the minority.
Yeah.
And so to see us like consistently growing together, it's something to behold to me. So I was very proud despite not being here. So
Not me about to cry.
No, I'm sorry.
No,
I wasn't trying to be emotional, but
we missed you so much, so it had to be pointed out. And it wasn't just us sitting here. It was, I know the viewers missed you.
That part.
You just have this voice
Thank
that
you.
is unreplaceable. I don't know a better word. You're special. We love you, and I missed you, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Anyways, not so lighthearted.
Sandwich method. Sandwich method here.
I have to lighten my blow here because I am
Silly.
pissed. Like, there's no other way I can say it. Here's the thing. How are you going to, first of all, give teams tape like you did in the Packers game? Starting with that. And then have a nearly identical game here with the same downfalls under a different scheme, new players. It's so frustrating. And, you know, I went to this game with my parents, so I'm sitting right in the middle of the who's that chant. It's AT&T sounded like a home game for the Saints.
It was so many people.
And Christy called it that they would travel well, and they did. Guys, I don't know if y'all have seen this video I posted. There was a literal, I learned it's called a second line, not a parade. Sorry, everybody. I clearly was not in
they
band.
fixed you.
No thanks.
Okay.
Those band people coming at me. I'm like, had enough of that. Thanks. But the way this Cowboys team can give other teams boost to actually sit there in week 2. These Saints fans are like Super Bowl bound. Nobody expected this. I do think overall everybody underestimated the Saints team. I will say that. Now, do I think they've put up enough film that people are going to start to figure them out weeks 3, 4, 5? Yes. About the Cowboys though, I'm so frustrated. The chunk plays, the run defense. Every single thing that lost you that Packers game, you pretty much piggybacked off of what lost you a potential playoff run here, and then started the season in that really ugly, I guess, mindset again. Because you can't tell me this feeling is not reminiscent, given it's not a playoff loss.
It feels similar.
It's just,
me.
It's frustrating. And so for me, my first impression of it was, what were the similarities? Again, you got rid of Dan Quinn that everybody wanted to pin that loss on. You have Mike Zimmer now. This is a completely different scheme. How do you have the same issues? Is it personnel? Is it, what is it? Yeah. Because at this point, it doesn't seem like there's a solution that you can figure out quickly because you had 9 months to do it and it's happening again. So I'm frustrated. It's only week 2, so I'm trying to temper myself, but I don't want to see another loss like this, especially when you're losing the game in the first quarter. I knew it was done. I knew it was shut. Watching the lack of fight, Mike McCarthy said in his press conference, we weren't quick to the first punch. Yeah, you weren't, but you also weren't giving a counter punch either to try to help you continue to keep yourself in the game. And that's my biggest issue. Don't be quick to the first punch. Sure, miss a couple things, but finish the play. Finish it. Try to put a fight out there. Sorry, I'm off my soapbox. I had to get it out.
No, there is a solution to it. Alignment, assignment, execution.
There you go.
Talk about it, sister.
Yeah, so that's what Mike Zimmer talks about is, I thought he was very enlightening today. They beat us off the snap, Mike Zimmer said. We were slow with our hands. Mike Zimmer took, tried to place some of the blame on the coaches and not everything on the players, saying that they needed to prepare them better. There were things that they specifically worked on. Even that Wildcat play that we saw, that one play, that they worked on, and yet it didn't manifest itself on game day. And they got caught a couple times, Zim said, when they were moving the defensive front. And here's an example. The 70-yard one-play drive, long pass.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the long pass to Rashid Shaheed. And it's like, oh, how did the safeties let him get behind him? How do you had 2 safeties back there? Rashid should not be behind you on that, even though he's fast. It's because he's not getting redirected by the corner who's in press coverage up top. These are not excuses. These are reasons. These are facts of why things happen a certain way. So frustration, yes. Was it abysmal? It was worse than abysmal. It was the only thing worse than watching it from the stands or on TV is being on the sideline and seeing the guys get pushed back or pushed sideways. But it's correctable. The question is, will they get it corrected and in time? Because you've got not just Lamar Jackson, but Derrick Henry coming in. So the only thing that was cool yesterday for me personally on the sideline, I got to interview Mike Tyson.
I think I said, look at our girl.
And Jake Paul, because the two of those guys, the big fight is coming up at AT&T Stadium in November. Why do I mention that? Because Mike Tyson, arguably his most famous quote, he's talking about a match. He says, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
Talk about it.
The Cowboys got punched in the mouth yesterday. They weren't able to fix these things during the game yesterday. But they got a week to get prepared for Baltimore. So how are they going to respond to getting punched in the mouth in week 2?
Well, my question is, because you said it's correctable. We knew this last year, which granted, different personnel, different team. But if that's the case, you're still having these same issues.
Sure.
why has it not been fixed? Because I feel like we've been talking about this since when I first got this dang job.
Stopping
It's starting to piss me off a little bit.
No, stopping the run, right? And then effectively running the ball. And you had a full off season. It's just like you ladies were saying earlier. So certainly it's frustrating.
The two most important. But go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say, Christy's saying, how will you respond? You have a week. You've had 9 months. You've had 9 months, and you even want to go back further to the playoff loss to the 49ers. Guess what your same downfalls were? The run defense.
Yeah.
And something that I don't think is talked about enough is allowing your opponents to get the ball first and allow them to punch you first.
Yep.
I didn't agree with the decision to defer the ball in the first half.
I didn't.
And the only reason why,
because that's been a trend in all 3 games as well. When you go back and look historically.
when they defer.
Yeah.
See, my thing is like, I think coming into this game, they're going off the fact that they saw what their defense did against Cleveland, and they're like, okay, let's go that route. Like, I'm up and down about the deferring, but I feel what you're saying because it definitely did come back to bite them in the tail. So that segues into you need to be better in the red zone, honey bun, because that was half your problem.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I will say that some of the I know y'all don't like to talk about it, and I know people don't like for us to talk about it, but some of those calls early in that game that were missed and things like that.
The face mask, Rico Dowdle, Demario Davis, that could have would have extended that drive.
Crucial. I understand the refs in week 2 too, but y'all can't be dictating
consistent.
stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, to answer Christy's question, to comment on what Christy said, you said, stopping the run, running the ball. You know why they're not better, Nicole? They have to some degree neglected the 2 most important elements of that. I will say you did things for the offensive line to be better, but as far as the running back room, it could be said that it was negligent how they've handled it in the offseason. You talk about DT.
Yeah.
It took your defensive coordinator being like, hey, bro, there's 1 more week left in training camp, and I don't have a DT that I feel like I have faith in.
Having to bring in Linval Joseph.
So you had to go. They did not prioritize it. There were free agents that were available. I understand the contract talk. No, you and you saw this come up on film. The lack of the DTs were getting blown off the ball so bad, y'all.
But we saw them being so much more physical against the Browns.
Well, the problem is, and I agree. But the thing about this was, it was my will is stronger than yours all game. And I understand that that's just like you can't fix that. I think the Saints have a good offensive line. First of all, I want to give them credit because I think they do have a good offensive line, but their scheme, sister, their scheme is why they. Even when the defensive linemen are taking on blocks, it's at angles. They're catching them. They're catching them without. They're getting
whole
reached.
pocket moves.
They're moving them out the way, and a lot of it is because when you talk about the Shanahan tree and these schemes, like the more successful schemes in the NFL now, but I'm not going to go there. A lot of them are based off of making your defense have to work for it, making them have to think. And that's why you look at this defense this week, you're like, dang, they look slow to the punch. The linebackers are like,
what's going on? Yeah.
Yo, that's what the scheme does. So to your point, Nicole, I get it was power on power, but a lot of it was guys aren't where they were supposed to be. So it's easier to move you out the way because you're off balance. You're unsure. And so that was a big part of it, but the way that they attacked the edges like crazy.
Oh my gosh, that was terrible.
They attacked the edges like crazy. You know what they said? They said, "Baby, we don't think your corners and stuff like to tackle."
They don't.
We don't believe that.
They do not.
We don't think that. We don't think that you guys can rush. We don't think that you guys can contain. And I will say, I do think the edges and Micah and Tank and those guys. I do think that they got to a point to where they looking at what's going on in the interior and they trying to help.
They had to.
They're trying to help, and by doing that, they're pinning themselves inside, and that's why you saw so many of those runs to the outside.
Yep.
And it just was. I saw you tweet about Taysom Hill, baby. Let me say. I'm gonna say one more thing. Taysom Hill, so much respect for him.
Oh,
Insane.
Because
He's
you know
great.
how many guys come in the league and they don't succeed as quarterback, and their career's done.
Yeah.
I think you've mentioned this before, Christy. You tell me how many jobs a guy has, how many units he plays in, and that tells me how smart he is. He does some of everything, special teams, helping them on offense. Yo, like, and to see him get out there and lead block,
Bro,
and having our secondary on skates, I wanted to throw up. I wanted to throw up. But but again, it speaks to the creativity, personnel, and also just knowing what you do well.
And the emphasis on running the football.
Yes, on running the football in a way that is supportive to what your offensive line does well.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing. I think the Cowboys, we saw it early in this game. It's just up the middle, up the middle, up the middle, right? But it's like, this offensive line is athletic. Why can't they get out in space and do some things, you know?
What I noticed too, and to your point about, the penalties that were called or maybe not called as often as people would have liked, what I think the Saints did really well was they were putting their hands on whoever they were facing on both sides of the ball first. Their physicality tiptoes the line of a penalty and it doesn't. And what I noticed very quickly was that there were times where it could have been called, but it's right on the cusp of it's justifiable not to call it.
Yeah.
And they pin it and they kind of, I guess, disguise it with how physical they're being. So it happens so quick that you don't notice that, hey, that could be a penalty if you're in a split decision and you're a ref right there, officiating. Given that's their jobs, I know that. I'm not going to make excuses. I do think there were some missed calls on both sides. I'm not even going to just say it was on the Saints, on both sides of the ball. There's that. So I wanted to throw that out there. But, it's so frustrating. You're talking about the linebackers not being able to kind of do their jobs. What I noticed from this game is the miscommunication was a big issue again, and that's really, you think of your green dot, Eric Kendricks, it's his job. Yeah. It's his sole job. I think there needs to be more widespread communication across every single front, and they need to figure out how to get that communication across everybody like wildfire, because it just seems like nobody was on the same page of how to find, what they're supposed to be doing to help the guy next to them. It started up front, and you're talking about the DTs and everything. Mozzie had the best game out of the DTs, and that doesn't say much because they all didn't have a great game, but he had the best game. So even the reinforcements that you brought in during training camp didn't show up when you needed them to, because he had the best game out of your DT room.
Yeah,
one
thing Zimmer said was he was in the right place in the game 99% of the time, but not working off the ball. Yeah. Not working off the block, not finishing the tackle. So to me, that's more execution than communication.
They could not get off of blocks.
And the thing is, the strength of the Cowboys' defense, no question about it, is the pass rush. That's where the resources are deployed, right? Yeah. And so financially and everything else, draft pick wise, although Mozzie was first round pick, but when you allow plays on first and second down where they don't even have to pass the ball, where you can't pin your ears back, you've taken away your best advantage as a defense. And that's exactly what happened. They were allowing the run game of the Saints to get, heck, they didn't even have third down plays till towards the end of the game. There was no punt until the fourth quarter. It's six possessions and 6 touchdowns, abysmal. But it's just the Cowboys weren't able to play to their strengths, and the linebackers, that's the job of the defensive line, is to keep those guys clean, and they didn't.
They're responsible for pretty much, your linebackers are responsible for pretty much 2 gaps the entire game. Right. Yeah. Like, they're not able to do what they need to do. And we talk about how simple it is. You need to play your position. Everyone was doing a little bit of everything, which was kind of reminiscent to the scheme you just moved on from. And that's why I think it's giving such flashbacks to the Packers' loss in general.
Go ahead.
They incited panic.
Yeah, you could see it.
Well, all of the cracks that you hear around Cowboy Nation are the broken bones from people jumping off the bandwagon.
Please,
because it was tough.
Why?
It's tough. And
I wasn't talking about us.
We understand the disappointment.
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't talking about us, but that makes sense contextually. I was talking about on the field. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That's when you're talking about the linebackers having to do other people's jobs, but I think it goes back to what you said, Christy, about you have a plan until you get hit in the mouth.
Yeah.
It sounds like Zimmer felt like they had plans. They got hit in the mouth, and
Didn't know how to
after that,
respond.
they mentally went into I don't know if you ever been in a fight before, but they went into panic. Like, to me, like, I thought that the way that
I shall not say.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, it's like when you talk about guys not playing their assignment, guys jumping in other gaps, guys being unsure, I think that's what this type of offense does to you. That's how they beat you.
Yeah.
That's the advantage is.
Mental
I'm gonna make you
gymnastics.
question everything that you thought you saw on film today. So this week, it's like when they go up against these teams that do a lot of this motion, they have to be sure, and they have to just play what they saw on tape. Because your instincts are going to be like, why is he moving to the left a little bit? Like, and it's a slight movement. You don't need that much space. Christy's taught us that about special teams.
Yep.
But it's like, why is he moving to the left a little bit? Maybe I need to move to the left a little bit. Too bad. All right, spacing's right for them. Here's a 10-yard play. That's just, it's all it is. So,
And Jess was talking about the gaps that the linebackers had to cover. That's just because mentioning the offense and the way that they stretch you out,
Yes.
horizontally. There we go.
Sideline to
Sideline to sideline.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like the defensive line was moving adjacent to the line of scrimmage.
That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
To move in.
Exactly
And then
what
what they
they're
do
doing.
is they crease you.
Yep.
They crease you.
Cowboys got killed on play action as well.
Oh.
And that's just
And it's because, and we talked about that. I think we talked about that
Yeah.
on Friday.
Yes, y'all
If they
did.
are allowed to establish the run, it sets up the play action. And
Derek Carr said,
Derek Carr looks
"Woo!"
like the second coming to Johnny Unitas.
and I will say about Derek Carr,
The second coming.
I hate it, but
Yeah.
it does take skill to play in an offense that is timing based.
Absolutely.
And being like, and that's why I don't knock Purdy, because it's like, it's not easy to be on time like that.
Yeah.
Derek
And
Carr
he
was
just-
great.
He played a great game.
And
Well, he
that
also
weeks
had
in a
time
row.
to throw. So
2 weeks in a row now.
he had
He had
time
plenty
to
of
throw.
time.
He had plenty
Yep.
of time to throw. There was to your point, Jess,
no
with
pressure.
deferring, there's no pressure to have to exert himself in any way. So we just want to see what that tastes like. I just want to see what that's like.
Look, when you're scoring on 6 possessions in a row, what pressure do you have on you? You pretty much won the
think
game at that point.
NFL Network be mocking us.
You
But
know
why would
what?
they turn it on as soon as we start talking?
They know. They're like, Girls Talk, Boys Talk is on. There you go.
I don't know why they doing this to us.
That's
but
fan
I'm
behavior.
not gonna look over there.
So
Don't
many
do
missed.
it.
I'm looking straight
look.
at it.
Don't look.
So many missed calls, missed opportunities. And in the words of Dak Prescott, there was meat left on the bone, but obviously it has a different meaning in week 2. But we'll be
Baby.
breaking that down up next, talking defense and the way that they can improve and what went wrong. You're watching Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be right back.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
The Dickey family always mandated that the only Polish-style sausage worthy of their restaurant must have high-quality coarse ground beef and pork, rich spices, and fresh natural casings. We still serve it to this day, and it's so popular, Dickey's sausage has been named the official sausage of the Dallas Cowboys. The perfect matchup on game day. Dickey's Barbecue Pit. No one outsmokes us. Order at dickeys.com. For groups, call 866-BARBECUE.
Dibs on the ribs.
at the Star in Frisco on Saturday, September 28th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Flea Styles Market at the Star, presented by Maker Place by Michaels, featuring 50 plus local makers offering art, fashion, home decor, jewelry, and kids items. Market at the Star is always a favorite. Admission is free as well, so visit thestardistrict.com for more information.
Ladies, we're going to continue that conversation about the defense. We'll talk offense in the last segment, but when you mentioned the fact that, you know, this Cowboys defense thrives off getting pressure, pressuring the quarterback, they were only able to generate pressure 6 times against the Saints on 17 passing dropbacks. That's a 35.5% pressure rate. That's the 4th lowest in the game since the start of 2023, and Micah, of course, getting 3 of those 6. Did y'all like the way that Micah performed on Sunday? Do you need a little bit more? What's y'all's thoughts?
What else could he have done with the whole? And Aisha's talking about he's kind of trying to help, you know, the interior at that point. What else could Micah have done?
Yeah.
And he's not the only one. I say this about Tank too. Yeah. Everybody had to pitch in and kind of play other positions. You can't blitz the passer at that point. So for me, I can imagine as Micah being Micah, he's frustrated about that. But what I will say, if you want a little dose of positivity, because we're all upset today, it's good for him. It's good for him to go against things he hasn't been up against before. And a challenge like this schematically is good for him. Because one thing about Micah, he's not going to forget that. And he will make sure it does not happen again. He is the guy, the athlete that goes and tries different sports in his offseason to challenge his mind. He trains with offensive linemen to pick in their minds. It is good for him to have a game like this so he can learn and understand how they were so good at neutralizing him throughout the entire game from the start.
I thought it was interesting that Mike Zimmer said late in his press conference when he was talking about using Micah in so many different places that he rushed, you know, from the 6 technique, even the 9, the 4. By the way, the higher the number, the further you out you are from the middle of the field.
Teach us.
But but the thing that Mike Zimmer said was moving Micah around so much affected the other players, right? Yeah. Of course, because you're asking them to move to different spots or do different things, and you're talking about some young guys as well. So I hope that it doesn't discourage Zim from being creative, continually trying to create situations and matchups for Micah. But I mean, Micah did not play poorly, but the defense as a whole, when you can't force him into the longer down and distance, when you're giving up so much in the run game on 1st and 2nd down, you're putting yourself in those bad situations, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, as far as to your point, Christy, I'm going to answer your question, of course, but I do think, I hope that it doesn't discourage Zimmer as well, because with respect, he's the star.
Yes,
he's the star, and even with these guys being young, you better figure out how to understand this, because his ability to, you know, move around is what makes him the weapon that he is, and it also, if you do your job right, it's going to open up opportunity for you as well eventually. So it's like, I hope that that's not a thing as well. But Jess, you were talking about earlier, you know, this being good for Micah. I know, Nicole, you were talking about the quote where he was saying that he felt like he was in a maze. Shout out to Kubiak and this Saints. Like, I mean, because I know, like, I do it myself where I get so tied up in, like, what they did wrong. But, man, the Saints did so much right in the way that they schemed against this team. And, again, people are going to – if Micah feels like this is unique in the way that they did it and schemed against him, you best believe somebody else is going to be like, hey,
let's try
that
this.
Worked. And they're going to try it. So, to your point, I do think this is a learning experience for him, and it is going to make him better. But it's not going to make the rest of the defense better if they don't play for each other, because that's literally – like, I can – from a human level, understand why Micah and Tank, because I thought Micah was fine for the most part. He didn't set the edge right a couple of times, but again, miscommunication, whatever. But I did think that he still had some level of impact. Him and Tank were doing things that they normally don't do. Like, Tank, and don't get me wrong, we've seen Tank take some risk Like, if he knows he's reading something right, he might jump in another gap or something. But it was very uncharacteristically of Tank to not play his assignment like he normally does. And I knew seeing him do that more than Micah even so was like, oh yeah, they don't think that they have enough right now to really stop these guys. Yeah. So I think that there has to be improvement all the way across the line, like not just with the DNs, because it affects all of them because they're a unit. And if one is out of place, then everyone's out of place. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, still, like I said, I do think that this is, like you said, something Micah can learn from and the whole defense can learn from. This was a test to me. I wanted to see how they handled another Shanahan tree type offense.
So soon?
Yeah. Good. Because I'd rather know now, sister. I'd rather know now.
You've got to fix it.
Look,
I'd rather know now. We knew in week. Well, actually, was the Cardinals games, but before the 49ers game last year, we knew.
I thought 3 last year.
Yeah, it was about the same time.
It was September.
It was about the same time. Yeah, it was like, okay, y'all look a little wonky. I don't like that. But then you go to the San Fran game, you like, oh, this is a problem. And we were on our toes for the rest of the season. Even though they got better offensively and they figured some things out, we still were sitting up here like, I'm not sure. I think that they can beat them. So I would rather get it out the way now, even though it shucks.
I thought it was interesting to see how Kubiak actually, when you talk about the way that they schemed up against Micah, usually you see, him having a one-on-one matchup with just that left tackle. But it was interesting to see how they had maybe 2, 3, sometimes even 4 guys just chipping at him after going on that one. It was so crazy. But I think that that's something that Micah needs in order to prepare for maybe getting double teams or triple teams moving forward. So, I mean, did y'all notice that? Maybe
he gets chipped a lot.
I mean,
it was, but it
was different.
It was extra physical in this game. And to me, it was right off the bat. They didn't even wait. It was all gas, no brakes from the top. Hey, we're coming at you, and we're not slowing down. Even going into the fourth quarter, they were still being so physical up front. It's like, how are you guys not tired? But to your point, Nicole, about Clint Kubiak, we said this last week. During the offseason, guess what he was quoted in saying? He wants a run-first offense. Yeah. He wants his identity to be able to run the ball versus 8-man fronts. They emphasize first and second down, and that they want this to be a tough scheme for linebackers and secondaries. Oh, wow. Guess
Mission
what happened? And
wow.
I mean, he said that in the offseason, and I think this is why I'm so frustrated for this Cowboys team. Because you have Clint Kubiak, also first year in a new scheme, setting the tone and setting a goal for what you want your offensive scheme to be. It's week 2, and you had 2 pretty much blowout wins sealed by halftime. 2 weeks in a row. And look, everyone kind of rolled their eyes. Oh, it's the Panthers. We did it. I did it. I know I did it. I will take full responsibility to say I did that. But then you have the Cowboys, who, should have every hypothetical on paper won this game. Truly. And why is it that you have the new coaches, the new personnel that came in here to say, we want to stop the run, and you have a similar loss to the game that kicked you out of the playoffs early? I think that's why I'm frustrated, because you see other teams doing these things that they set out to do, and then you have the same kryptonite. Talk about the San Fran game last year. Same thing. Playoff game 2021. Same thing.
Yeah.
Win, and Christy, to your point, you know what needs to be done, but win. You're going on 2 years of the same issues. So how do you fix it and in a week at this point? Because Baltimore, you're going to have fun with that one if you do not fix it. And what you don't want is 2 weeks in a row of losses like this. That will get you down bad. That's going to get you in a hole mentally, especially for this young team. Hard to get out of.
Yeah. Let me ask y'all what's y'all's biggest concern within the secondary? Because you had guys getting twisted and turned, beat over the top. So what's the biggest concern within the secondary? Go ahead.
Not the hand raising.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to sit up here and go crazy with Kalen Carson and, some of the growing pains we're going to go through with him. These safeties got to help out these corners. Yeah. Specifically, because quite honestly, besides that freaking in-breaking route that Trayvon Diggs got beat on, first of all, wasn't no safety there to help again.
Yeah.
But besides that, I thought Trayvon Diggs going back played pretty well. Quiet, like, of course. But I thought that he played pretty well for the most part. But he's coming off of an ACL. He's still finding himself. He's confident, but he's still finding himself. And then you have Kalen Carson. Your safeties have to play better.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of respect for the safety room. However, this isn't just like this year. Donovan Wilson last year, even so, wasn't the Donovan Wilson we were used to seeing. He had flashes, and I understand also too he had a calf injury at the beginning of camp.
A slow start.
It took him a while to get in a groove and everything, and we did kind of see him come alive later, but still not the same guy that is this enforcer. And because a lot of what you saw too is that they did, like, when I say your secondary, I'm talking about your safeties too.
Yeah.
Like they dared this secondary, these safeties, to make decisions and come down and tackle and to fill gaps in the run. And these guys did not do that particularly well. And so to me, you talked about communication, just that safety communication and what they have going on back there. I will say I think the scheme protected you a little bit more on the secondary side. But they didn't, I think these safeties are where my concern is, because getting beat over the top like that, although I understand you peeking in the backfield a little bit because you like, what y'all got going on down there? Like, I get the concern. I think these safeties have to play better as well right now, covering this field, because the big plays hurt really bad, and a lot of the time it wasn't even a safety in the vicinity, or they was taking a bad angle. So I'm done. I was waiting for Chrissy to say something. Like,
no, but at the same time, like we say, when you've got someone with the speed of Rashid Shaheed, if you don't get a hand on him before he's 20 yards downfield, 30 yards downfield near the safeties, they don't have a chance.
He's gone.
That's facts. So
did they not watch him? But that's what I'm saying. That's what pisses me, and that's why I hear you.
That's
because
so
it's preparation.
Like,
well, it's missing the redirect. It's a young guy not redirecting
he didn't put his hands on him.
Yeah. Not getting. You're in press coverage, and you've got to.
But you know it's a nugget out there. You know he's a nugget, and he's out there. So like your safeties by default, to me, gotta realize, like, I got a youngin' out here.
Yeah.
Even so, he didn't redirect multiple times. Go tap him on the shoulder at the very least and be like, hey, big dog, you getting this kill back here, kiddo. Like, something, like, I understand what you're saying, but we sat up there and watched Rashid torch the Panthers last week.
Yeah.
Why isn't there an emphasis on we can't let them beat us with the big play?
My question is, do you feel like, and this is an open question for all three of you, the lack of an established set running back on your own team that you're facing every day, it plays a factor in that? Because they're kind of doing running back. No, I'm just.
we going off?
No. Yeah. I'm just saying, you guys can simmer through this during the break, but I'm just saying, if you're playing running back by committee week to week, what are you going up against consistently to have a speed guy to practice against? I mean, I'm just saying.
We're going to simmer on that and take a break real quick. We got to take our second break. You're watching Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be right back.
The Dickey family always mandated that the only Polish-style sausage worthy of their restaurant must have high-quality coarse ground beef and pork, rich spices, and fresh natural casings. We still serve it to this day, and it's so popular, Dickey sausage has been named the official sausage of the Dallas Cowboys. The perfect matchup on game day. Dickey's Barbecue Pit. No one outsmokes us. Order at dickeys.com. For groups, call 866-BARBECUE.
Dibs on the ribs.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that sixth ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
The 2024 Dallas Cowboys Fan of the Year. The Cowboys and Captain Morgan are celebrating extraordinary, inspiring, and original fans. Nominate yourself for the biggest Cowboys fan you know for a chance to be named the 2024 Fan of the Year and win prizes, including a trip to Super Bowl 59. Visit DallasCowboys.com/Fan of the Year and go Cowboys.
Cowboys want to take a trip to the Super Bowl, they got to get back to work and get on the right track. They have a chance to do that on Sunday. But
amen.
Recapping this offense, we talked about how Clint Kubiak put on a masterclass against this defense, and we didn't see a lot of that from this Cowboys offense. They've now combined for just 2 offensive touchdowns in 2 games.
Shout out to Brandon Aubrey.
Yo.
Oh, man.
Shout out.
That's a problem. That's truly a problem.
Shout out to Brandon Aubrey.
What went wrong for this offense for you?
Well, the one thing that the coaches and offensive players in the locker room pointed to after the game was red zone. And as you say, thank goodness for Brandon Aubrey, because they, anytime they were sniffing the red zone, they would stall out. But obviously the problem is the lack of a run game, any kind of consistency. And so this running back by committee approach, we didn't even see Zeke until well into the game, and yet we're seeing Deuce Vaughn and Kevontae Turpin back there together, which is interesting. But Rico Dowdle, like you say, that missed face mask call was pretty costly early in the game. But it's until they fix the run game, it's going to be difficult for this offense.
Because you're essentially one-dimensional right now. And people know that.
Barely one-dimensional.
So when you get when you get down to the red zone and that window gets so much tighter, it's harder to pass down there already. Yep. You're making it even harder to pass down there. So the lack of it keeps coming back to the same thing, like the lack of run game and how they're running the ball. Also, too, the penalties. The penalties
Don't
in
get
the
me
red
started.
zone.
Don't
the
get me
penalties
started.
in the red zone. Be that as it may, we know that Tyler Guyton is young and he's still learning. Those penalties in the red zone hurt, and that's what happened to them, because if they would have put up sixes rather, carry the 2, instead of 3s, then they would have been able to put some pressure on the Saints early in that game, because the Cowboys had some good drives, right? They had some good drives.
They did.
But not capping those off. I know y'all all have felt it. I was like, that ain't going to cut it home. That ain't it. So what do you think, Jess?
Here's the thing. We're gonna go back to the run game for a second, because we've been saying this, and we've been saying it all off season. Pick a running back 1 and stick with it. If it's Rico Dowdle, you're not giving him a chance to establish Rico Dowdle in this NFL
And to find rhythm too,
and get warm, get in game shape, if you will, get those game time reps. If you want to do this running back by committee thing, and McCarthy talked about this a little bit today, saying, we're essentially still figuring things out, paraphrasing it, my words, not his. It's frustrating because it is week 2. You had all off season to decide who you want to take those starting reps. And this whole running back by committee, let's do these special packages. Cool. Have Terp packages, have CD packages. Behind your running back 1, have a starting back that is consistently going, and establish that, because guess what worked? Remember your 1-2 punch with Zeke and Tony Pollard? it worked. You knew Zeke was running back one. You knew Tony Pollard was your second punch of, hey, let's get you downfield. Zeke works in the red zone, which it's become predictable at this point. You're in the red zone. Guess who's getting the ball? Yeah. Zeke. You need to establish another red zone weapon on your offense. And to your point, too, guys, Jake Ferguson wasn't in that game. I do think he would have been your red zone weapon in this point. And I also want to give flowers to Luke Schoonmaker for doing everything he needed to in this game. I think to earn himself a little bit more game time snaps in that tight end position. He was consistent. He played when his number was called, but I don't think he was ready to be that red zone guy in this matchup just yet. It starts with the run game, to your point, Christy. You need to establish who is your starting back. Doing this running back by committee, it's just, to me, if I'm in that room, it's going to create some animosity for me to where I'm just going to be like, well, I'm trying my hardest. It's not working. I'm still not your first back. You still haven't made a decision. And that goes across the board here. You can be the best teammate, the best player, but it is frustrating because you're not getting production done, and you know it needs to be done even if you're the guy in that position.
And it puts a lot of weight on Dak because now you don't have a run game. Now you're forcing him to throw his way out of these games. You don't have a defense to help. And that kind of brings me to my next question because, you see CD and him find that connection once in the game on Sunday, but realistically, I haven't seen a consistent, aside from Jake, since he wasn't playing, I haven't seen a consistent offensive weapon this year. Have y'all seen that?
It's not.
Have we found that just
Cooks.
yet?
I mean, and with Cooks,
but in games like that,
they're not using. They could have used Cooks yesterday with that too high shell. Yeah. This is the problem. The Cowboys have the 5th worst success rate against light boxes. Baby, if you can't run against light boxes, then what is happening, the same thing that's happening, that's what happens when you play San Fran. It's what happens when you play Green Bay. People are like, we know you can't run the ball. We're not about to send no safety down there. We don't have to. You know what? We're going to let them linger and drop 6 into the secondary or drop multiple guys into the secondary, and your guys are going to have to work for everything. You're not dictating defense. You are not making people have to make decisions. And we talk about Brandon Cooks, he's not being used the way that he should be. And this is, again, I think we've seen the crossers and the post corners and stuff like that be successful. This is a guy that can go. He can take the top off. And with what was happening yesterday, even so, if you're not going to run the ball, well, you're not even establishing a deep threat for them to have to respect. So they're playing straight up downhill, making you have to come up and tackle. They're going to give you everything underneath because they're like, you going to mess up. You going to throw a pick or you going to mess up at some point in time. So to me, like, you talk about that side of things, I don't think that they're using Brandon Cooks to the best of what he can be and what I've seen him be in other offenses right now, which is frustrating because we saw them finally start to connect during camp, right?
Yeah.
Especially towards the end of camp.
And towards the end of last year,
And towards the end of last year, which helped a lot with the red zone because Brandon Cooks can get open on his own and his speed is threatening. Yep. You need to use that to your advantage if you're not going to run the ball. But I said it earlier in the show to finish like the conversation about the run game. It's how they run the ball too. Because it's just, I can't really convey the information how I want to, how I'm seeing it. But the way in which they're running the ball, to me, is not conducive to the pieces that they have. And also, too, the Cowboys are top of the league right now in motion. For play, though. Like, it's not... You're not getting anything out of that motion. You're not dictating spacing. You're not making guys have to make decisions. You're not causing shifts. It's like, I'm going to motion you just for, like, Dak need information. He don't need that much information. Yeah. He does. But the way that they run the ball is not as good as the teams that run. Like, the good teams run the ball a certain way now. And it's out of spread. It is literally trying to, just what you talked about. I think they need to re-look at the run scheme, especially if you're not going to go get new guys. You got to figure out how to scheme it to make it easier. But right now, you just go play like you're better than the other guy. Yep. And the Saints said, "What's up?"
Yeah.
What's up then?
To your point, you can't do any of that until you have an established running back room and who you're going to use consistently.
I mean,
because if you're using your special packages with Turp and CD, okay, those aren't going to be used on a constant basis. Like you and to your answer your question, Nicole, who is that other passing threat? Again, how you're not going to know right now because you're kind of spreading the ball all over.
Well, Ferg being missed was
that was
Fergie,
big.
He was missed.
He's gaining the respect.
He was missed.
And so, do you think the Saints didn't know that?
No. Well, here's the thing. I don't think things would have been much differently if Ferg was in.
I don't agree.
But they used different formations, though. They used 10, they used 20, meaning no tight ends.
If your defense is not stopping this team from scoring 6 consecutive drives, you're putting so much stress on your offense. I don't see things being that much different. Maybe the score would have been a little closer. I still think you lose this game.
Yeah,
you have to have the defensive play to back up what your offense is doing.
You could, but I do think Ferg they were starting to respect him towards the end.
Oh yeah,
and that safety I was talking about, that safety that's coming down to help, that's not coming down to help him to run. He's dealing with Ferg, that's right. And the Cowboys did not attack the middle of the field yesterday. Yep. That's because Ferg wasn't there. And then when you can attack the middle of the field, it make everything else kind of open up. So
you missed those yak yards too.
You missed his presence. Yeah. And having the Saints having someone to account for, because they're not going to sit up here with respect account for Tolbert and those guys. Yeah. Not yet.
They're young.
They haven't earned that yet.
That's right.
But they also see, you got Brandon Cooks running outs and curls. Yippity-doo. I mean, if he not running nines.
Yeah. Especially when you got a 3-point lead.
I'm sorry, yippee-doo.
I'm done.
Yippee-doo.
But when you were talking about them missing Jake Ferguson, you had Luke Schoonmaker, of course, still not, 100% proven yet, but he made some decent catches to make you feel like, hey, we're already down in this game. Why not just try it?
He's consistent.
Attack the middle of the field with Luke.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
No, I do think with Luke specifically, he's building trust.
Yeah.
He's building trust with Dak. I mean, he's building confidence, but he's also building the confidence of the rest of the offense. And tight end is a hard job. Yeah. I don't think that it's easy, and I do think tight ends take time to develop because they have to know a lot. They're an extension of your offensive line. It's a lot. So I think he just looks like he is starting to get it. You start seeing tight ends like the angles that they take when they catch the ball, the way they shift their hips. He's turning upfield quicker. You know what I'm saying? Like he's showing some wiggle in the passing game that we didn't get to see last year. And so I will say, as a bright spot, you see him kind of like, I think he's taking on that role seriously.
Yeah. And, definitely.
And with Stevens being out, it was good to see him starting to seem like he's getting the position as a whole.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. I wanted to give flowers to him because he was consistent and he did what he needed to do. I personally didn't think they needed to be as conservative with him as they were. I think they could have pushed the envelope a little bit more with him.
I mean, why not? You're already losing by, 35 to 7?
And here's the thing. You were trying it with Brevin Spanford on that 4th down. You tried it.
I don't know. I think.
But
I don't know what was happening.
Jalen Brooks, Jalen Tolbert, like you were giving the ball to these younger guys. I just wish, to respect that tight end position a little bit more, they were a little less conservative on what they were giving him.
It would have been helpful to get some good tape out there for him because going into the Ravens game, because I'm sure teams don't know that much about him yet. Like they're like, and that's an advantage if he comes along. So for the betterment of the team in general, though, him getting better and us having an established tight end too, seeing him kind of get a feel was good for us, I thought, this weekend. Yes, of course.
Well, hopefully the Cowboys do put some better tape on film on Sunday.
We pray.
We gonna pray to the football guys for that
Tell
one.
your grandma. Tell your grandma.
Yeah, my grandma got a prayer, like her little prayer warriors, they got a prayer list. And I'd be like, add this player on there. Not add this player.
When we go to the Saints, like I said, the last time we went there and I went to the House of Blues Sunday Gospel Brunch, enjoying the chicken and waffles and all that. And then at the end, when the gospel singers up there doing When the Saints Go Marching In, I'm like, we lost this game. It's divine intervention.
You didn't have to see it walking out of the stadium in the form of a parade. People brought tubas.
Oh, yeah.
And trombones. I just can't stop thinking about who flew with tubas to this game. Like, I hope y'all drove because the baggage fees
They
crazy.
They live here. They
Sister,
live here after Katrina. They
Well,
live
no,
here.
I know that, but what if they flew? What if they're like, I want to take my tuba to Dallas?
You can. They put on the plane.
There goes all the overhead space.
I was about to say.
The baggage fees, crazy.
All right,
but
well,
worth
ain't no more parties in Dallas.
No
'cause the Cowboys
injuries.
got to lock in. We will be back here tomorrow on Girls Talk Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw. We'll be right back tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this,